Bibi Netanyahu appeared in Congress. I'm sure you've heard a lot about this. Let's get into some of the things that was said. We are not going to listen to the whole speech because, like I told you, it's very cringe. But I want you to look at these sellouts and these frauds, man. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu received a warm welcome and standing ovation from members of Congress upon his arrival to address the joint session of Congress. So look at these sellouts, fam. You got Mike Johnson here. And I mean, watch this.
Speaker, the Prime Minister of the State of Israel.
Anyway, you guys get the point here, right? All of these people that stood up to clap for this murderer, all of these people should be voted out. Every single one of them should be voted out of office. These people are traitors. Traitors. They bow down to this man. They bow down to Israel. And some of the ones, especially the ones that say, oh, we're America first, they're Israel first. You know, forget all that. Some of the people that said they were America first when it came to Russia and Ukraine, they're Israel first. And why is that? Because they take money from the Israeli lobby. Our politicians are bought and paid for. This is why we need to get corporate money out of electoral politics so we can have real democracy in this country. Now, according to Andrew here, by my count, roughly 100 of the 212 House Democrats and 27 of 51 Senate Democrats and Dem caucusing independents are in the chamber for Netanyahu's speech. That's around half of each caucus absent. So there were a number of congressmen that did decide to sit this one out. But Max brought up a good point that I didn't think about at that point in time, which is he said, like, it actually would have been better for them to be there and to have a silent protest, like to have the signs, I guess, like how Rashida Tlaib did. He said that actually would have been more effective, or to stand up and yell back against him and just get arrested. And our politicians aren't willing to do that. And that's because a lot of them don't come from an activism background. That's just a reality. And also, a lot of them want to keep that seat. They want to keep that cushy seat that they got. What was crazy about all this is even Elon Musk was at this event. Like, you have a billionaire going to listen to Netanyahu's address to Congress. Listen.
For the Netanyahu address today?
I am.
You plan to attend?
I do.
And whose guest are you?
Netanyahu.
Okay.
Would you speak to President Trump about?
So he said he was Netanyahu's guest, and everybody should be up in arms about this if you take issue with big money interests in electoral politics, because Elon Musk is a billionaire. And I don't know about you, but I don't think it's fair I don't think this is right for billionaires to sit in the halls of Congress. Like, why are you there? And he said, well, I'm Netanyahu's guest. Oh, so you're Netanyahu's bitch. Right? Because that's what this is, right? He took Netanyahu on a Tesla tour afterwards, by the way. Tesla tour. Look at Elon Musk, Mr. I'm so pro free speech and I bought Twitter to make things better. And I'm going to talk about the Twitter files and how the government was suppressing speech. And just like that. And after that, you're Netanyahu's bitch. Controlled. It's problematic. And we got to shout out Z Squirrel. We're going to start with this framing here. One of the many lies that Netanyahu told. Here is Netanyahu saying that 2 babies in an attic were killed by Hamas on October 7th. These babies do not exist, as confirmed by Haaretz and Israeli police records. This entire story is fabricated, and all of them clap for it. Listen to this.
They stand with people who came into the kibbutzim, into a home. The parents hid the children, the 2 babies, in the attic, in a secret attic. They murdered the families, the parents. They found the secret latch to the hidden attic, and then they murder the babies. These protesters stand with them. They should be ashamed of themselves.
And here's Congress. Look. So listen to this. So again, an Israeli outlet, Haaretz, an Israeli outlet has debunked that story. That story has been debunked so many times by different outlets. And Netanyahu and all the other Zionists continue to spread that lie. This is a problem. And to see those members of Congress stand up and clap for it, they know damn well this is a lie. All these people are bought. These people are traitors, fam. They don't represent the U.S. They don't care about U.S. interests. They're not putting the U.S. first. All these mofos who stood up and clapped for Netanyahu are Netanyahu's bitch. And that's what we need to refer to them as. These aren't your representatives. They don't represent you. The moment they were elected, they belong to the state of Israel and all the other donors that they have. What a mess. They all clap. What was interesting is that this is Hakeem Jeffries right here. Hakeem didn't stand up and clap for that one. So that was interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Here's another one. Netanyahu claims Israel killed no civilians. We all know this is a blatant lie. He just stands there and lies and lies. Listen.
The ICC prosecutor accuses Israel of deliberately targeting civilians. What in God's green earth is he talking about? I asked the commander there.
So you can see all the headlines put up here. Israeli military admits serious mistake in killing 7 food aid workers. Netanyahu says deadly Israeli strike in Rafah was the result of a tragic mistake. Israeli admits airstrike that killed 86 people in Gaza refugee camp. You see what I'm saying? Let him finish.
How many terrorists did you take out in Rafah? I asked him, how many civilians were killed? He said, Prime Minister, practically none.
So do you see what he's doing? When he makes this statement in front of Congress and he said that practically no civilians were killed, what he is also saying is that everybody is Hamas. So the death toll that we keep hearing, which I tell you that number is larger than what they're saying. Once you count the people that are still buried under the rubble, that death toll count is larger. What he is essentially telling you is that all of them are Hamas. And that is the Zionist rhetoric. They're all Hamas. Remember they said even the babies that were in the hospital, they said they were Hamas too. So I want to frame things in a way so that you understand what he's really saying. Because when they say they have killed almost no civilians, they are telling you that everyone that was killed was Hamas, which is a lie. I've never met people just lie and lie and lie like this. Here's another one here where he compares the protesters that are LGBTQ to chicken. Listen to this. From Tariq, hi, queer Palestinian here. This kind of racist rhetoric is exactly the thing that keeps dehumanizing us. Meanwhile, gay marriage is still illegal, and is it real? and they actively harm and entrap queer Palestinians to further their own violent means. As a queer person fighting for liberation, I fight for the liberation of all people. And yes, a lot of devout religious Muslims are homophobic, but newsflash, so are a lot of devout Christians and folks of other religions. Now we're going to get to this speech here, and I want you to think about this for a second too. This is something that people, particularly those that are Christian Zionists, they like to leave this out. When they say that, oh, you want to be around the Palestinian people, they hate, you know, LGBTQ people, et cetera, et cetera. It's frowned upon with their religion. It's frowned upon with your religion too. And nobody calls this out. And I've seen this numerous interviews, whether it's politicians, Christian politicians, or talk show hosts. They pretend like Islam is the only one that frowns upon that. Christianity frowns upon it too. And it just baffles my mind. Like, people pretend like, you know, this statement here.
Absolutely amazing. Some of these protesters hold up signs proclaiming gays for Gaza. They might as well hold up signs saying chickens for KFC. Absolutely amazing. Some of these protesters hold up signs proclaiming gays for Gaza. They might as well hold up signs saying chickens for KFC.
So he took his time to attack the protesters, right? Now you're coming to Congress because you want to persuade them to give you more money, but you're spending your time attacking American protesters, which actually was not good use of your time. If I'm just thinking about this, right? That was also a corny ass joke. But the reality is, he's talking about it because that means it got to him. That means the protest did work in the fact that it angered him. He's bothered by the fact that all of these particularly younger people, because they're the future, the younger people are not on board with this apartheid state. They're not happy with what Israel is doing. And that pisses him off because, again, they're the future. They're the ones who are going to have children to also continue on that future. And what are they going to teach their children? They're going to teach their children the truth about Israel. And that bothers Zionists. Crazy times. He went on to say more. This is the whole thing. Again, everything's about Iran. It's Iran's fault because of everything. Iran's not perfect, but everything that has gone wrong in the Middle East is not because of Iran.
They refuse to make the simple distinction between those who target terrorists and those who target civilians, between the democratic state of Israel and the terrorist thugs of Hamas. We recently learned from the National Security Director, U.S. Director of National Intelligence, that Iran is funding and promoting anti-Israel protests in America. They want to disrupt America. So these protesters burn American flags even on the 4th of July.
Who gives a fuck? You don't live here. Chris C., I love this. We're going to start calling it IDS, Iran Derangement Syndrome. It's true. I believe this is what a lot of people have. Like, people are just losing it, you know? But again, why do you care about what flags are being? It's our flag. This isn't your country. So, do you see this? Why don't you concern yourself with the matters that you have in Israel? Stop paying attention to what we're doing here in the United States. Why is Netanyahu coming to Congress making demands about what our people are doing in our country? Who the hell is he? This is mafia style, fam. Does Netanyahu think he's the Godfather? And he just walks in and starts saying what we need to do? What is this? You come into my home. Now, once you call me Godfather. What the hell? This guy is just, he's doing everything. Telling us what to do, what we should do with our people.
And I wish to salute the fraternity brothers at the University of North Carolina who protected the American flag protected the American flag against these anti-Israel protesters.
The fraternity brothers of the University of North Carolina, the ones that were making the racist remarks towards the black woman. That's who he wants to congratulate. I don't know how much more clear I can make it for people. The supremacy is all there. It's all out in the open. That's who we congratulate. Oh, and by the way, for people who say, oh, well, Netanyahu, was there when Obama was president. Yeah, and he went right over Obama's head. When Obama was president, Netanyahu went right over his head. He had no respect for Barack Obama. So that's the other thing. The way that he talks about Palestinian people, don't get it twisted. He look at us and see the same. Those of us who are black, he look at us and see the same thing, boo. If he feel that way about the Palestinian people, calling them animals and all that kind of shit, what do you think he feel about black people? It's just a mess. It's a mess. There's another one I want to show you as well, because it just shows you how our government has sold out. Look at how many times he used the word Iran. Again, this is to take the pressure off of Israel. Let's take the heat off of Israel and get you to pay attention to another country. That's what he's doing. Watch.
Iran's axis of terror. Iran, Avichai, Iran is funding the anti-Israel protests. Iran is funding and promoting anti-Israel protests. Iran's maniacal plans. Iran's regime, but Iran understands. Iran's terrorist proxies are of Iran's proxy Hezbollah. So when Israel fights Hamas, we're fighting Iran. When we fight Hezbollah, we're fighting Iran. We're fighting Iran. And when we fight Iran, Iranian proxy, the Houthis, prevent Iran to Iran's axis of terror. Iranian threat, Iran against us. To confronting Iran's aggression, Iran is virtually behind all the terrorism, all the turmoil, all the chaos, all the killing.
Let me tell you what's really going on here. Netanyahu wants a war with Iran, but he don't want to fight that war. He wants American soldiers to fight that war. He wants your son, your daughter, your brother, your sister to go over and fight Iran. He wants the American people to fight that damn war. That's what he really wants to happen. And this is why I'm telling you and sound the alarm. Young people, get out of the military while you can, because you should not have to go over there and fight this war for the supremacist state. That's what he wants to happen. I'm trying to tell you guys this for quite some time. He knows that he can't beat Iran. He's like, well, I mean, he's getting their weapons from us. He's getting weapons from the United States. So he knows that he can't beat Iran, but he knows that our weapons are a little bit more powerful than what he has in Israel. So he wants us to use our weapons, and he wants us to go over there and get our ass kicked by Iran. Also, Israel can be free, apparently, and secure and protected. Nobody else gets this type of treatment, ladies and gentlemen. No one else gets this type of, no one else is coddled this way. Now, they can't even protect your kids, but they want to protect Israel. Your kids are afraid to go to school because they're afraid there's shootings at the school. Parents have taken their kids out of public school and homeschooled them because mass shootings in this country, particularly with schools, it's just become an everyday thing. Now, they don't want to protect and secure your damn kids, but they want to protect Israel. Make that make sense. So a lot of these people about America First was not really about America First. Now, Rashida Tlaib, she did a 10. And Matthew Ho said, bless her, the only honest person in that chamber. Thank you, Rashida Tlaib. But she held up a couple of signs. One of them she held up here said war criminal. And this is what Max Blumenthal was saying. He was saying that instead of all of those congressmen and women that decided just to skip it, he said it would have been better for them to show up anyway and protest and denounce Netanyahu regardless and just get arrested. Hell, they'd be out the same night. You know? So that was pretty interesting from Rashida. But there were people there protesting. So Max was talking about that as well. He was a part of the protest. One of the protests that happens is that there was a liberation party outside of the Watergate Hotel, which is where Netanyahu apparently was staying. So check this out. Give a big props to Chuck Modi, you guys. Chuck Modi was on the ground for a lot of this. And so follow him on Twitter if you can. He has a lot of videos. Watch this. So that was like an all-night party, apparently. Eric, we can go to part 2 for type VNC. Thanks. That was like an all-night party, apparently, where they were just trying to make as much noise as possible, I guess, to keep him awake and avoid him having a good night's sleep. That's also probably why he was pretty pissed off at the protesters when he arrived. To Congress. So it's really interesting. So I think I have another one here. Yes, Union Square. So this should be interesting. So the protests weren't just outside of Congress, obviously. There were also protests at Union Station, and Max was talking about this one as well. So I guess this is supposed to be BB's head. See, what the U.S. government doesn't like and what Israel doesn't like is these young people here. These are supposed to be the future congressmen and congresswomen. These are supposed to be the future politicians. And they haven't been able to brainwash them. I got to admit, that was epic. I'm not going to lie. That was pretty epic. And of course, the big controversy from the protests was the flag burning, right? So first of all, I want to make something very clear. It is not against the law to burn the flag. But I want to show you why it's not illegal. Shout out to Terrence Cudney for this. And we'll get to the Kamala part. Kamala Harris may not like it, but this is settled law. United States versus Eachman. Okay, this was a U.S. Supreme Court case that by a 5-4 decision invalidated a federal law against flag desecration as a violation of free speech under the First Amendment. So people need to see this. And here comes crazy ass Kamala Harris. And I hope this is a wake up call for all the people that were pro-Palestinian but decided to support Kamala Harris because they think she's going to be better on this issue than Joe Biden. I warned you. Read my full statement on the protests in DC yesterday. Yesterday at Union Station in DC, we saw despicable acts by unpatriotic protesters and dangerous hate-fueled rhetoric. I condemn any individuals associating with brutal terrorist organization Hamas, which has vowed to annihilate the state of Israel and kill Jews. Pro-Hamas graffiti and rhetoric is abhorrent, and we must not tolerate it in our nation. Okay, so guys, notice that Kamala Harris, again, is not saying anything different than what Joe Biden has already been saying. Even though that charter for Hamas, that whole rhetoric is in the old charter and there's a new one, notice that Kamala does not correct that. So for all the young peeps who thought that Kamala would be different on this issue, she is not. I condemn the burning of the American flag. That flag is a symbol of our highest ideals as a nation and represents the promise of America. It should never be desecrated in that way, but it's not against the law to do so. We could say a lot of things about that flag. Highest ideals as a nation, that flag caused a lot of pain. Some people see that flag in other countries and they see murder. They see imperialism. So let's not sit up here and act like that flag is necessarily highest ideals. I support the right to peacefully protest, but let's be clear, anti-Semitism, hate, and violence of any kind have no place in our nation. So once again, she's saying the same things that Joe Biden said. And I want to say this again for people who forget. Palestinians are Semites. Semites are not just people who are Jewish. It includes Arabic people and people who speak Arabic. That includes the Palestinian people. So that tells you something there about Kamala Harris. She's pro-Israel. You could go ahead and call her a Zionist too. She tries to, cushion it a little bit by saying we need a two-state. We'll get to that later, but she's no different. And I don't know why people are believing that, but hopefully this wakes them up. I like the response from Jill Stein to Kamala here. You can buy a new flag, but you can't bring 180,000 people back to life. How is it that this full statement says nothing about murderous genocide funded by the USA? So again, what I tell you, they always go with the Israel side. It's always about Israel, and they will sit up here and not mention about the Palestinian people. Now, here's something from Claudia de la Cruz, which I thought was interesting. Claudia de la Cruz is also running for president. She's running through the Party of Socialism and Liberation. She was at the protest. Here's what she had to say.
A couple minutes earlier in the Arrest Netanyahu march, comrades, people were unprovokedly attacked by the police forces who pepper sprayed them. We had tens of comrades on the sidewalk being aided by other folks in the march. It's incredible to think that we live in a so-called democracy where war criminals get to come and the doors are opened while the people of the United States are brutally attacked by the so-called forces that are supposed to protect us. It cannot be any clearer that the police force, that Congress, that the Biden administration and the so-called leadership of this country are enemies of our people.
That's right. And that's what you got to take home with you, because at the end of the day, again, they don't care about us. All they care about is their donors. They care about their political position. And that's pretty much a wrap on that, folks. They don't care about us. They let this man, this murderer, come right into this country, walk right into Congress as if this guy has done nothing wrong. And then they stood for him multiple times. So you can't cheer for murderers and people who are committing a genocide, and then you get mad when people don't see the US flag as a friendly symbol.